Welcome to Athena's Way of Happiness. Happy Friday, Saturday, no matter where in the world you are. Thank you for joining us on this amazing series that Candy's being kind enough to walk us through. And one thing that is very special about this series is that Candy is mixing the best of both worlds. She's mixing the part of the data and the research and the logical part with also something as powerful as our way to be happier in life. So with that being said, help me and join me welcoming Candy into our second session.
Yay!
Welcome, Goddess of Inspiration.
Thank you, Goddess of Magic. Let me just quickly share my screen. Alrighty, let's go. So, happy Friday, everyone. We want to celebrate all the happiness you girls all have this week. It's been a beautiful week wherever we are. Okay, so last time we said this program, we aim to understand the science of happiness, which we started last week. And this week, we're going to start working on the third item to increase our happiness level. So first, this is just reminding everyone of the parts we're going to go through and the people that we're learning from. Okay. So last time we talked about the common misconceptions, the top 5 of them: job, money, awesome stuff, true love, perfect body and face. I hope everyone has a little bit of memory of each of them and why they don't make us as happy as we thought they would be. Mm-hmm. And then we talked about rewire. So I'm curious, what did everyone did for rewirement and how did it go for the past week?
Who wants to share?
Yes, please.
I was very inspired with the concept of the savoring.
Yeah.
I am very familiar with the other ones and
yeah.
have the other ones kind of included in my routine. But
Brilliant.
the savoring, because of my monkey mind that you guys all know how I'm all the time thinking and moving, savoring is something that I usually don't do. So it was very interesting, and I was not able to do it every day because I have some crazy days this week, but the days that I did it, it was very nice to see how it was an immediate boost in my happiness when I was able to take a time to savor a nice moment in my day or a nice person or a nice interaction. So that was very interesting for me.
That's beautiful. I'm so glad you did it.
Who else? Who else want to share?
Whaley also did savoring, yeah?
Yes, I did. Also, I even noticed the words savory happening more often. Like I noticed those words. That's how amazing it is. I savored more time with my kids, with Norton, with Serena. Just I think the simple awareness of that can be tracked. It's helpful. Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you.
Okay, let me share. This week I slept all night.
Yeah.
Because before I was getting awake 2-3 times a night, and this week I slept the whole night. So it was so great. I'm not so tired anymore.
How do you feel the difference in your mood?
Oh, I was like a zombie last week, and and this week I realized more. I'm more connected to the others. I'm more receptive. I'm more into gratitude than last week. There was also some anxiety with the sleepless night, but now I'm better.
Yeah.
And also I had social connection because this is the first time this week that I went out for two dinners actually, with one with Jessica. We reconnected after so many months in person,
Yeah.
and with other people that usually I don't go out, but it was nice to do this. So
Thank you. Yes, social connection was a big one when I did it for myself, besides savoring, because I didn't notice that social connection with even stranger could have such a positive impact on my level of happiness. So then I started being really nice to strangers on the street and saying yes to a lot of things that I normally would say no to, like friends are asking for something. Normally I would be like, no. But since I've started this rewiring, I'm like, yes, let's see what kind of social connection would bring to my happiness level. So that was a big one for myself when I did it. So, okay, so last time for the 5 misconceptions that we talked about, for the most part, I'd say our expectations are generally off by a little bit. So this time we're going to talk about why are our expectations kind of bad, right? So we didn't really expect what was really happening. We overestimated the level of happiness or the level of disappointment that we're going to have with positive and negative trigger. So the reason number 1 is called miswanting. So miswanting basically says that we're mistaken about what and how much we want something in the future. So it's kind of like we're doing the wrong estimation for what we really want. Is called miswanting. So that happens a lot of times. If you imagine what you wanted when you get out of college many years ago, if you did go to college, was it something that you would really want and exactly how you would want it done today? I bet it's really something very different. So the second one is we have a lot of annoying features, and I'm going to talk more about that. So these annoying features mess up our head, and how do they do that? Number 1, a lot of times strongest intuition of us are often false. So what do I mean by that? So the first example I have is visual examples. So I'm sure many of us have seen these pictures. For the picture of the tables on the left, which one of the tables are longer? Which one does it look longer?
The one on the left looks longer.
Yeah, but actually is the same, right? So actually the length of the table is the same, but our eyes would tell us that the table on the left, which is more vertically placed, are longer. And same applies to the lines on the right. So our eyes would tell us that the line in the middle with the arrows going this way are longer. But in fact, again, they're of the same length. So a lot of the times our intuition tells us something is obviously better than other things because of many reasons. And sometimes that could be wrong, is what this point is trying to say. And this is one of the annoying features that we might run into, is that our intuition might not be the most accurate reference. So this again is a visual example. If you look at it, it looks like it's moving or spinning or just happening, messing up our eyes, right? So a lot of things like that is a metaphor for things in life. It looks different when we look at it than what it actually is. So number 2 is also a huge one. Our mind actually don't think in absolute terms. A lot of times we think in relative terms. So that means comparing with the reference point that is around us. And a lot of times, our reference point comes from not just our family, not just that people we work with, we're in touch with. A lot of times, our reference point actually comes from a complete stranger, like people on TV, people on social media that we don't really know that well of. And the problem with that is that kind of reference point are not really a reasonable reference point, because you're not really keeping some variables and taking their life standard as a reasonable reference point as to compare with your own life and reference points, right? So they told a really funny research findings. So did you know that the bronze medal winners are generally happier than the silver medal winners? So who do you think the silver medal winners are comparing themselves with? What is their reference point when they win silver?
They didn't win gold.
Exactly, they didn't win gold. So I'm not so happy, I'm not number one. But who are the bronze medal winners comparing themselves with?
All the other losers.
Exactly. From fourth place to whatever place, they don't even have a medal. So it's funny, right? Because when you're standing third on the podium, you're thinking, wow, I'm so glad I made it. But when you're standing second, you're like, oh my gosh, shoot, I was only 0.00001 second behind and I could have done it. And I'm such a douchebag or something that I didn't make it. So it's funny, right? Our reference point are just like completely psychological. Sometimes it would make so much sense to our brain, but when you think about it, if you step out and think about it, it's actually not fair, because the silver winners are definitely did better than the bronze winner, but we ended up being more beat up and unhappy about that, right? That's really funny and really good thing to keep in mind about. What are our reference point and how are we judging ourselves against?
For that one, one of the things that
Yeah.
blow me away always is with the reference point, that how sometimes we are always, sometimes we lose perspective and start looking on what else we can have. And then our reference point is always people that have more than us. And
Yeah.
usually forget that when you compare us with the 7 billion people in the world, all of us in this call are in the less than 2% of the population. 2% of the entire population. We have more than 98% of the entire world.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's very good way to jump out of it. And there's also two kinds of comparison, right? There's upward comparison, where you look up to people who are doing better, and there's downward. So obviously the upward one would not make you feel very happy, because you feel like you have less than what they have and you don't have enough. And when you do it downward, however, it might boost your confidence and make you realize how blessed you are, but it's still not a good thing to do, because you're still comparing when you have no idea what you're comparing, you know? Like, you don't know how their life is. You don't know what they go through emotionally every day. You just know that what it looks from your perspective with your meanings assigned. So basically, this whole comparison can never be reasonable and fair, because you basically don't know what's really going on. So another example that they gave was, are you happy with your salary? So some people, they're making so much more money than what another person is making in different companies. So basically, people always use people surrounding themselves as reference point. So if you're in company A and you're the person who's making the least money, and they ask you, okay, are you happy with your salary? You're likely to say no, because everybody else are making so much more money than I am working in this same amazing company. But if you're in company B and this company is a lower rank company and they overall just pay very, very little to their people, and everybody in company A are making absolutely many times more than people in company B, but if you're put in company B and you're making more money than everybody in company B, even in monetary terms, you're making less money, you feel that you're more happy. So that again tells you how this reference point can really, really mess things up. So for me, I think right now in the world that we live in, we always need to do the reference point check. So we need to step out and ask ourselves, okay, was that a reasonable reference point comparison? Are they from TV? Are they from like real people, real reasonable people? Are they from social media? You know, people only show certain parts of things on social media. So I would really be super conscious about this because we don't want this reference point thing to drain our happiness when in absolute terms, just like Joanna said, that we're actually super blessed to be the top 10% of the whole human generation, right? Population. So that is a very good thing to keep in mind for reference point.
Candy,
Yes.
how will you balance that with the reality of the pay gap between females and males? And then between females with white females, black females, Latina females, there is also another gap. So how you balance that, not comparing yourself with others from a perspective of happiness, with the fairness that the reality is we should not have that salary gap between a male and a female, or between females of different races. So how you balance the two of them to get to a middle point, I guess?
I think that's a really good question, and that deserves a really deep conversation, I believe. I think that it's a lot about what you focus on. So if you're focusing on the gap, there's always going to be a gap. But if you're focusing on the improvements on quality of life, let's say compared to 4 decades ago, then you're always going to find that too. So I think it's like what Tony Robbins says, what's wrong is always available, so it's what's right. So it's all about focusing on what empowers you, because fairness is, it's not a thing that's easy to achieve. I mean, we're fair in terms of the time we're giving every day. We all have the same amount of time every day. But in other things, I think it's very hard to achieve what we envision as fairness in absolute terms. So I think from a personal point of view, it is to focus on things that you're in control of, which empowers you and brings you happiness. Yeah. So moving forward, I actually can't see you all with my screen, so I'm going to move forward. Please call me up if there's anything that we need to discuss on. Number 3 is our minds get used to stuff. It's called hedonic adaptation. So what does it mean is, in response to what we talked about last week about awesome stuff, that would be all the materialistic things that we thought would bring us a lot of happiness. But in fact, what our brain does is it gets used to stuff. So whatever it is, then it wears out with time. Hedonic adaptation. And number 4 is that we don't realize we get used to stuff. So it's annoying enough that we get used to stuff because the happiness would wear out, and the positive and negative effect we can both get used to, whether it's a positive or negative trigger. And more annoying is that we don't remember that, or we don't realize that we're so built to get used to stuff. And therefore, we tend to overestimate our emotional impact. We overestimate the duration of time that we need. We overestimate the emotional intensity that's going to be of an impact on us. So those were the annoying features that we sometimes are not aware enough that we actually have. Annoying features that mess our head up. So intuition, comparative reference point, getting used to stuff, and not realizing that we get used to stuff. So, and also when we expect something, we predict it, we're focusing solely on the problem or the trigger, But in reality, life is not like that. We all know that, right? If one thing happens, we still have many things happening for the day. We still have our family, we still have breakfast, we still have a lot of routine stuff that happens outside of the thing that we're focusing on when we predict. So that is the reason why we over predict oftentimes. We expect it to be so much better and we expect it to be so much worse. It's because of focalism. Another thing that we often forget is that we actually have built-in mechanism to get ourselves out of negative events. We can do it by rationalizing. We can do it by taking a shower. We can do it by calling a friend. We can do it by having sugar. We can do it by having chocolate. And we can do it by doing so many things, and we can be immune or we can feel better from the negative events. But when we predict it, we kind of don't take into account this mechanism is going to kick in and we're going to feel better by doing all these things, right? So that is another reason why our expectation is often kind of off from what it actually is. So with all these annoying features, we're going to talk about how do we overcome all of these. So we all know that awareness, consciousness is everything, with a little bit help of strategies, which is what we've been talking about a lot on the Athena Sisterhood materials. So with this also, we can overcome it with intentions and strategies. So now we're gonna share what these strategies are. Here's a quote from the author of The How of Happiness. Our intentional, effortful activities have a powerful effect on how happy we are, over and above the effect of our set points and the circumstances in which we find ourselves. So it talks about how powerful intentional and effortful activities are on the impact of our happiness. And this is in response to the adaptation, hedonic adaptation. Part of us believes the new car is better because it's going to last longer. But in fact, that's the worst thing about the new car. It will stay around to disappoint you. So it's about things we're getting used to, and eventually we're going to find that brand new car old and not good enough, and this function is not good, it's not comfortable here, but eventually we're going to find problems, right? We all do that. So this explains why the hedonic adaptation could be a problem. The same can apply on a person. Like, part of us believe this new husband in a new marriage is better because of da-da-da-da-da, but in fact, the same experience is going to wear out if you're not conscious about it and you just let it run, right? So the first strategies that we can work on, we talked about it a little bit last time, but now we're gonna actually talk about it as a strategies, not just a research outcome, is to invest in experiences instead of stuff. So the first one, it says travel, even though there's a typo, it says travel. Going to art gallery, concerts, these are typical experiences that we can invest in. So now I'm going to ask everyone to think about something that you've purchased in the past couple of months that is over $100, and think about one thing that was experiential, and think about one thing that was material. And just help yourself to rank how happy does it make you feel when you think about it now, a couple months later. Yeah, so was there an example that you came up with when you think about that $100 that you spent in the past? Did you feel that it was well spent? Did you feel that it brought you a lot of happiness, or how do you feel when you think about it now?
Not in the last couple of months, because I'm being locked down, so I'm not spending a lot of money on lockdown.
Yeah, exactly.
But one that always bring a lot of happiness to me was when I spent $130 on a massage, and that was something that always like just leave me floating and happy and relaxed. So that is an example of $100 investment on building up my happiness.
That's great. Yeah, that's an experience, because experience can't wear out, because by the time you're done, you don't have enough time to adapt to it, right? So that's the thing, that's the beauty of experience. It vanishes. By the time it's done, it's gone forever. What you're left with is the memory, the good memory of it. You don't have a physical thing that you can get so sick of. So it's really against our intuition.
But then I have a question for you, and then all the goddess can chip in. Deb had a question too, and I already talked. Go ahead, Deb, and I will talk after.
Oh. I've always thought the experience outweighs the material object. The experience always gives me the memory's sake, where the material object is something that I'm probably going to donate. So I always recommend experience for material.
Yes, please, Elizabeth. Now I can finally see y'all without sharing the screen. Yes.
So the only thing that I spend money on now is investing in myself, which means coaches, knowledge, even more education.
Yeah, that is experience, right? And how do you feel about that?
To me, it feels like a luxury. And for me, it's a form of self-care that I love myself enough to invest in my present and my future.
Yeah, yeah. I felt the same when I invested in the Platinum Partnership with Tony Robbins. I thought that was the best decision I made for that year, to invest in myself. And I had so much joy, and I felt that it brought me happiness. I felt that when I think about it, it excites me. And I thought that, you know, that was really money well spent. So,
Yeah.
So that was my personal experience.
Yeah. I'll share too.
Yes. Yes, Carmen.
Right now, I'm spending money on my acting career with headshots, and I bought a really good microphone. It was a $250 microphone with a camera and a stand, and coaching teacher and acting classes, and I actually got my first role.
Wow. Congratulations.
I'm going to be in a movie called Three Flowers, and it's
Wow.
about a Mexican-American gang. And it's going to be through the 40s, the 70s, and the 90s. They're going to do a zoot-suiter kind of gang, Mexican-American Chicano gang style movie. And I'm going to play in the 70s part, a gang member.
Well, brag.
Wow, brag.
So I'm really excited. So my acting lessons have paid off.
We are very excited too.
So I've been investing in that in my acting career.
Yeah. That is brilliant. Yes, Goddess of Light wanted to say something.
Oh, I was just going to share with you the $100 experience I remember to this day, so vivid. I think this was 1994. At that time, we were still like really very, very poor, right? As a student. But we went to Baton Rouge, and there's this restaurant called Commander's Palace. It's $100 per person to go in. We had to borrow jacket to go inside. And a group of our international students were like, okay, do we go for this restaurant like once in a lifetime we never experienced, or we actually have nothing to eat maybe for 2 weeks? But we all decided we're going to go for the experience. That's the best $100. I don't remember what we eat, but just how the experience, you walk in, you know, the gentleman, you have to put the jacket on, and it almost like the little duckling turned into swan that experience gave me. That's
Mm,
$100 when you think about it, right? It's amazing.
yeah. Thank you. Yes, but goddess of perseverance. Yes, please.
I want to share a negative approach because before I was more into material things, a lot of material things, a lot of dresses, a lot of pants, a lot of things, and my wardrobe is full, and I cannot wait to get rid of everything now. So I totally shift from that to more experience in self-development, in travel with the family, with the friends, because it brings so more enjoyment and memories than the X thousand dress that I have.
Yes.
Well bragged, sister. Well bragged.
Yeah, wow. Thank you for sharing that, because I also had a stage in my life where now I would call I was possessed by possessions. I was just obsessed with buying stuff because of the environment that I was growing up with. It was like private school in the States, and there's all these really spoiled kids, and I felt that I needed everything. I needed this accessory, I needed that dress, I needed this bag, I needed this sunglasses, and I really felt the urge. It was almost like survival for me, and it was so real when I was in it. And that was like almost maybe quite a good couple of years in my life. But now I felt that I actually wasn't happy at all. I didn't know what I was getting those stuff for, and I thought it was going to bring me happiness, but ended up it was just a lot of social comparison, a lot of reference point that I didn't learn about, obviously. And it was basically a lot of emptiness that I had, that I felt that having that dress is going to make me so happy, and having that bag is going to, make my week, but in reality it didn't. So I had to learn my own lesson myself. Thank you for sharing that, Christine. That's really good. So let me finish this part. If there's more questions, let's get back in 10 minutes. And then with the same experience versus material. So the three things that they compared on was, are you happy thinking about the purchase or investment that you make? Did it actually contribute to your level of happiness? And do you feel that it was money well spent? So on all three items, we can see that experience has higher score than material. So we can conclude that money spent on experience are going to make us happier. It contributes to more happiness, and we're going to feel that it's money better spent. And then the wealthier you are, the bigger the difference between money spent on experience and money spent on materialistic things. Another research result talks about how excited you get and how pleasant you get with purchasing experience and material. So again, highest score on almost double the score actually for excitement and pleasantness that you get from investing in experience. So another thing is impatience and excitement. A lot of typos in this. So when we get materialistic things, we actually get very impatient. If you were to place an order on Amazon.com, so every day you'll be checking where the shipping is, when is it going to arrive at my door. So we get into this mode of really not being patient about it. We really want it right now in our hands. But when you're making a purchase for traveling or experience, you're actually looking forward to it. You're excited. You're like, oh, I hope this vacation is gonna, I want to do this, I want to do that. Instead of being impatient, you're actually excited. So that's a very different emotions. So this study is one of them that I really, really want to share. So it was done by Van Boven et al. In 2010. It talks about they basically asked people, what were your impression after having a conversation with what they identify as materialistic people and who they identify as experiential people. So after a conversation with these two separate groups, and they're going to ask you, so what was your impression of them? So they thought the materialistic people were trendy, they enjoy buying things, they're self-centered, they're selfish, they're insecure, they enjoy luxuries, they're generous, they're friendly, they're judgmental, they're materialistic, and they're very concerned about their appearance. So if you were to have a very materialistic conversation with someone, it's likely that they're going to think these things about you. And compared to the experiential group, they thought they were humorous, friendly, open-minded, intelligent, caring, outgoing, open to experience, adventurous, optimistic, easygoing, and talkative. So we can see that it's a very different list, right? Very different list. And not only because we have more happiness ourselves, we also make a better impression to other people when we're investing in experience instead of material. Why is that? Because when we invest in experience, it's a lot harder for other people to have social comparison. It's a lot harder for other people to set that reference point, because experience is not something like Toyota versus BMW, right? It's something that everybody has a scale on, but a trip to the museum is not going to be as comparable because it's just a lot of variables needs to take it in, and it's a lot harder for people to socially compare. So because of all these reasons, you know, people's impression of you, because of how happy it can make you, and because of social connection, because you're going to be able to make conversations that are more, I guess, enjoyable for both parties, for yourself to be reminded of that beautiful experience, and also for other people to be more humorous, friendly, open, intelligent, so on and so forth. So for all that reason, the strategy is to invest in experience, not material. So I'm going to jump to the end to wrap it up because of time, and we're going to go through all of these next time. So for homework this week, please, we're going to talk about this next week. Please do this test to discover your 24 character strength. So out of this list on the right for 24 character strength, you're going to have a ranking of your own and discover your own signature strength by going to this website that I've posted, viacharacter.org, or you can type VIA character strength on Google, you'll find it. So please come with the results of this character strength test, because we're going to talk about it, and we're going to jump to question in case we have any. Yes, VIA character strength. It's going to tell you what is your character strength. Yes, Elizabeth.
So I agree that it can be harder for social comparison on experiences. Yeah. But what if it is a materialistic person comparing experiences? Meaning, sure, everyone goes to the museum, but I can see that a person who tends to be more materialistic will say, yeah, but we bought like the tickets so we got in quicker. And then we went to the restaurant in the museum. So they are more about, you know, bragging and, you know, I'm better than you. And also with travel, people compare, you know, did you stay in a 5-star resort or hotel? Did you backpack? So I do see that there's also a comparison with certain types of people. And I was just wondering what your thoughts are.
So like you were talking about, I would say it's a mixture of both. So it will be a mixture of materialistic and experiential sharing with that content, because normally if I were to share my experience, I wouldn't go into detail of the resort that I lived in, right? Not the materialistic side of things. I'm not going to go into detail if I were sitting on economy class or business class or first class. That would not be my focus if I'm entirely focusing on experience myself. But that would be the focus if someone is in between both of them. So then he or she would feed in a lot more details on things like that. So I think it's a balance. It's a balance in between the two. Yes, Deb, you wanted to say something? Yes, please.
Me? Yes, I do. Thank you. The difference is the ego.
Absolutely.
And also the focus of the person listening too. Like, what are you listening for?
I think that is a lot into the listening for, because even if it's not about ego, if you want to compare experiences, you can compare experiences. I can have an experience going to the ocean in the East Coast and go to the ocean and the beach in the East Coast. And then I can compare that with somebody that can afford going every 3 months to Fiji. But they both are experiences, but they are experiencing a different level.
Yeah, brilliant. Also, I think for me, it's really all about focus. So now we're having this great experience talking on Zoom from all over the world. I could be comparing everyone's background. Oh, Deb has flower. I don't have flowers. Should I get flowers? I mean, oh my God, Joanna has like a virtual background. Oh my God, do I need to make a virtual background for next time? Like, I could go like that too if I want to. So it's all about focus, right? I'm like, oh my God, I need flowers. I need virtual background. I need like sexy clothing like Carmen does. I mean, I gotta dress up and like, I gotta put earrings on. I could, I mean, if I wanted to, right? There's always opportunity if you wanna set your reference point with things like that.
Yeah, it seems like it's more about whether or not you're comfortable with yourself and whether you're comfortable in your skin. And then when people say, oh, well, where did you say? You can say, oh, why is that important? Let me tell you about the experience I had. This story is so much better than where I stayed. Don't you agree?
I love it.
Yeah, or just like keep sharing from your point of view how beautiful it is, instead of like clashing the two model of the world. So they obviously have a different model of the world, and there's no right or wrong, there's no better or worse. It's just that I'm sharing with you my model of the world from my perspective, and they're sharing theirs. So that would be a lot easier. So I think I have 1 more minute. Any question before we jump into next week?
Yeah,
yes.
Where do you get the character strength? You go to a website or?
Yes. I can maybe post it on Facebook. It's just VIA
Okay.
character strength. So you can Google that.
Okay.
And then there's an assessment that you can take. I think it's about 10-15 minutes, and then it's gonna give you a result of what your character strength is. And we're gonna talk about that next week. Thank you. That wraps us up for Friday night, right? Thank you everyone for coming with your time and energy.
Thank you so much, Candy. Goddess of Inspiration.
Thank you.
Helpful. Yes, thank you. So,
That was
oh,
awesome.
thank you for typing the website. Thank you. So I'll see everyone next week. And we're taking a picture, are we?
Yes, picture.
Okay, awesome.
1, 2, 3. Happy Friday.
Yay!
Good.
Thank you. Love you all. Have a great weekend.
Love
Thank
you.
you so much, Candy. That was awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.